Okay, this is Ken Rosignol with the Chesapeake Today. We're here with Greg Kolarik, and Greg is filed to be in the Republican race for County Commissioner President, St. Mary's County. And we're at the Fitzy's on the beautiful Breton Bay, and it's kind of cold. So we won't take too long with this one. All right, Greg, you filed for the Republican primary, and you've been to one candidate's night so far at the Republican Club recently. Have you figured out why you're running?
Well, I really want to kind of keep helping out people the way I used to do with my old job with the Department of Environment. I really enjoy taking someone's problem, especially the problem with the government, and resolving it from start to finish. I always found that.
You mean we can dissolve government? That's a good idea. That's going to get you some votes.
I'd like to work on that. I'd like to really take back some of the shackles.
Okay. All right. So, would you mind telling people about your experience in life?
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I attended the Calvert Hall High School and graduated in 1989. Came down to St. Mary's College, did 4 years, my degree in biology, a minor in chemistry, and then set off to the world to try and make my way. It took me a while, a couple months of banging around, and then I got a job break in Charles County to work for their environmental health department. From there, I turned that into a job at St. Mary's Environmental Health Department, worked under the old Mr. Tom Russell and that crew. And then I finally picked up with the Maryland Department of Environment around 26 years ago now, and worked in the Water and Sciences Division down in St. Mary's County, mostly St. Mary's County, but a lot of Charles and Calvert when we would lose people. So at one time I had the Tri-County area, which is impossible to try and work. But I really enjoyed it, driving around, like I said, getting into all the kind of scenes, waterfront properties like this beautiful place down here, construction jobs, even some of the awful places like the Leonardtown wastewater treatment plant. I've dealt with Metcom as well, gone round and round with them, had good relationship with Metcom, and I'm more of a systems person. I'm not really, I kind of figure out what we have when I get on site. I try to, there's always plans, there's always an approval, but I find that, what's the reality of the situation is better than just looking at a piece of paper to try and get the best result.
Okay, a lot of the job of the commissioner, besides the weekly parade of people coming in to get awards, blue ribbons for everything, and congratulations and retirements, it consumes a big part of their agenda every week. They actually do stuff like set tax rates. Are you going to raise taxes?
No chance. There's no chance I'm raising taxes. It's impossible.
Will you maintain the constant yield to lower the tax rate to make up for the state assessments?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm looking for every possible way to make it easier on everyone who lives in St. Mary's County.
Do you think the county needs to take over the Leonard Hall School and turn it into a public employee free-for-all like they're doing for child care?
I don't think so. I think that's going to eliminate a couple mom and pop jobs. People are highly trained, and what's going to happen when they get filled up? We're last in line to sign up. Then we're back to square one with child care.
What would have been a better use of the Leonard Hall School?
Well, could have helped out with the sheriff's department. Instead of building something new, I'm sure that they could have retrofitted that office to have more of, I hear that they need more evidence rooms, and a vehicle processing as well. So I think we could have turned that into a resource for the county rather than just a small sector of county employees.
Well, the sheriff's department has about 3 to 4 dozen police cars parked around in parking lots in Leonardtown. They've got 27 vacancies because people come here, get trained, and find out it's nothing but a good old boy system, and they leave and go elsewhere. Aren't there other solutions for the Leonard Hall School besides letting the cops hide out in there from the criminals?
That is true. I never really took it beyond trying to help the sheriff's office. I'm sure there could have been, I think there should have been more thought, and maybe even a town hall meeting.
Well, the county commissioners that are in office now never consulted citizens over a space needs study. I know, I asked them. And they said, no, we just asked the sheriff's department what they needed. In the past, the county commissioners used to form a citizen panel and let them examine the space needs to get the citizen input. Because who's going to pay for it?
Us.
Right. And in one such public meeting, Commissioner Ford Dean admitted when he was questioned by Vernon Gray if they ever considered the ability of the taxpayers to pay for it, and he goes, well, no. He was like shocked. Ford Dean was a good commissioner, but that wasn't a good method. And they came up with a $23 million judicial palace, which got turned down. Now we have a sheriff's palace that's going to run maybe $60 million.
Which will be much more expensive than the Smecco building that was built in Leonardtown.
Yes. Well, there we go. And ratepayers paid for that.
Right.
Okay. All right. What about the crime in the county? Do you think you can do anything with the sheriff's department and the state police to do anything about the crime? And I mean, we just had another murder, I think, yesterday.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think there is a role for the county commissioners to meet with the sheriff and the commander at the trooper's office. You know, I don't know why we couldn't, you know, spitball a few ideas and get some more, you know, heavier police presence where it's actually needed, and you know, kind of troubleshoot those areas that, you know, do pop up and down. I mean, there's no big crime on St. George Island. I don't think there's any big crime, you know, down in Clements, but we all know where the crime's occurring, and I think a little bit more presence and a little bit more nudging of the bad folks might give them a reason to leave St. Mary's County, or at least curtail their involvement with crime.
Do you think it's time for the county to have its own professional police department and relegate the sheriff's department to serving papers and guarding the courts?
I haven't looked into that. That's a deeper question that I haven't really. I'd have to lean on some of my friends in law enforcement, both in this county and in Baltimore City and Montgomery County.
Well, when you do that, will you come back to us?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to get some answers, because, you know, I know that's on everyone's mind. You know, St. Mary's County is, you know, we're a peaceful place, and we shouldn't really have to. People say, I won't go to Lexington Park in the daytime, which is a little kind of harsh. It's not that bad, and we don't want it to get that bad. I think right now we're in a spot where we could be trending towards that kind of situation. We really need to put our foot down and work for a more peaceful place for all of us.
Other counties and other areas, the YMCA's are privately funded. In this county, Mike Hewitt's making sure that the YMCA is primarily county funded instead of privately. In fact, to hear him talk, you think we're going to have a YMCA in Mechanicsville too, paid for by taxpayers. What is your view?
I thought that the better use of that money would have gone into, you know, the Willows Road Recreational Center that was bought out. You know, I mean, I don't know. My familiarity with the YMCA as a young man in Baltimore, and they had a pool, and we had to pay for it. So I don't know if the community is going to be ready to pay dues for the YMCA for something that, you know, it's a lot cheaper to go to the park and go swimming at the Great Mills Pool. So, you know, I didn't think that we needed it. I don't know if that was a signal that needed to be answered without, again, more public input.
Speaking of public, we're about ready to get a bunch more public living here, because they've been approving housing developments left and right in the past couple of years. The Stewart's grant 1,200 new homes. They got another one down off Willows Road for about 130 more, and the town of Leonardtown is going wild. You know, they keep expanding, and they keep having sewage overflows in the Breton Bay right behind you. That's been going on for decades. Why is Leonardtown allowed to get so much bigger?
You know, I know that Leonardtown's incorporated.
All right, start that again.
Okay. Well, I know that Leonardtown, you know, they're their own town. They're incorporated. They have their own board. They have their own plan. They have the mayor. However, they are a small area in the larger pie of St. Mary's County. I don't know if there's no communication with the commissioners. I know when I was working for MDE, I was always had open communication with Lachelle McKay, Mayor Burris, and anytime that they had a problem, I would be contacted, or if I found the problem, they would be contacted. So I don't know why there's no communication with the county. I had heard yesterday in a meeting that Leonardtown never speaks to the school board. That's why there's this redistricting issue that's appearing and that's going to be talked about. So, I think that also needs to be, there just needs, it seems that no one talks to anyone in any of these groups, be it, Leonardtown or the sheriff's office or the commissioners, and I don't know why. We're still pretty small down here. I mean, we've got about, 116,000, maybe 120,000 people.
What do you think? Maybe the talking's going on, but it's behind closed doors?
That could be an issue. My goal is to bring a lot of accountability and transparency to not only the commissioner's job, but all the ongoing things that factor into life of the residents in St. Mary's County.
Okay. How about some issues that I haven't asked about? What would you like to talk about?
Well, I really would like to talk about, really to the point of the communication. I think I really want to build some more relationships between not only the residents and the so-called government, to get a lot better than it is. I mean, I really think, and even some of the, I'd say the churches. I mean, I think after COVID, people are still kind of shell-shocked and afraid to speak to their neighbors, to reach out. They want everyone, people will call and have, the sheriff's office handle a dispute. They'll call the commissioners to rat out their neighbor because they got a shed that they think that their neighbor shouldn't have had. I don't believe that's the way St. Mary's County used to operate. I mean, not the place I moved into. Everyone used to smile and wave. So I really want to, I know the government can't make people happy, but I think... Well,
they're waving on street corners all the time with signs. Does that count?
That's they're only making people happy for a couple weeks, and then they go into their shell and they go into their clubs and their private groups and their little circles. And I don't really run in a clique. I'm friends with a whole lot of people, desirables and undesirables, and I think that's the kind of county I want to continue to live in, and I'd like more people to get along that way.
Okay. All right, well, Greg, good luck and thanks. I hope you'll come back for another interview. And Fitzy's is now closed for the season. You can look for them to open up next May, and I think maybe they're available for private events. You'll have to call them. Look them up on Facebook or their website. This is Ken Rosignol of the Chesapeake Today, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.